Hello and welcome everyone to this round 7 preview of the Cats versus Adelaide. I am joined by the king of the podcast world, the Geelong Cats podcast world, and 1/3 of the Chaps Chat Cats, Mr. Jake Bowtell. Welcome, Jake.
Oh, mate,
King Jake.
pleasure to be here. But that's a heavy crown to wear.
And is your coronation ceremony coming up soon?
No, definitely not. No, absolutely not. I refuse it. I abdicate the throne.
You abdicate the throne.
Is that the word?
Yeah, I think it might be close. Now, Jake, you are aware, and as am I, that this is our second attempt at recording this show. A few minutes ago, we had a bit of a power blackout, and you do not have the power. You are not He-Man, for those that have grown up in that He-Man era. But we're back, aren't we, Jack? We're back in town. It is just a fact of country life that sometimes the power goes out. And anyway, that's how it is.
Yeah. Country living, Country game last week was a special time for me, Ben. Very close to my heart.
You're just bringing it into this episode, so I appreciate that, mate. Right. I do appreciate that. As I said off the top, it's the Cats versus the Crows. Saturday afternoon. I can't remember what time it is, but Saturday afternoon. It is expected to be chilly, 13 degrees, lots of rain. The way we like it down in Geelong when the interstate teams come and visit us. But Jake, before we get into the game, mate, what are your thoughts on this strange old season that we're having at Catland? We're in the AFL.
It's been interesting. It's been a fun ride. I'll repeat the line I used in the first take. It felt like a record scratch. The first three weeks was like, what's going on here? And then the last month has been back to your regularly scheduled Cats programming. And I think that was always to be expected to an extent. New captain, we're living in Selwood's shadow.
Yes.
I always suspected that they'd done a heavier than usual training program later into the pre-season, and so probably some heavy legs. I think some stagnancy as well. Like it's to be expected. You the last game you play, you're feeling on top of the world. You are on top of the world, and then you're brought back to earth. And look, ultimately, I think coming back to earth for a couple of weeks was probably a great thing for this Cats team. A reminder that you don't get to carry last season into this one with you. That's done. And now it's all the hard work for 2023.
And maybe we win those first 3 games. Maybe we just get a bit complacent with winning, and we don't appreciate how hard it is to win these things. And at the end of the year, similar to 2008, we were winning lots of games, but it just had that sort of look about us that, well, I'm a bit nervous, and we went into that grand final. Even though you win 21 games in the regular season, you shouldn't be nervous, but for whatever reason, we just didn't seem to have that same drive and that same laser focus that we had in the year before. I'm actually, just to sort of touch on what you were saying about the Cats coming into this year or end of last year, it felt like a bit of an end of a chapter. But as I said on the first take, it did feel like a bit of an end of a fairy tale story with Joel Selwood getting getting to raise the cup and just everything. That day in late September, everything just was perfect, wasn't it? So, and to pick yourself up and go again after that, it's like, what is there more to fight for? But yeah, you get, well, as supporters and as crazy Geelong supporters, we get to round 1 again, and we're like, well, I'd love to win these games of footy all over again. Yeah. You get a bit greedy, but anyway, but it's been a funny old season, hasn't it? So. And about a third of the way through,
like a kid in an ice cream store as a Geelong supporter. You've kind of had everything. We've seen 4 flags. Unbelievable. We've won more than anyone else has won in terms of home and away, records upon records. And then you're like, I wouldn't mind that back to back.
The old 70-year back to back thing, which we haven't done. Quite some
Maybe
time.
We'll do that.
Come on, we've got to have something to aim at. Then we can say, without a shadow of a doubt, and we want Tommy Hawkins to get his 4th premiership. We want him to join his good mate Joel Selwood at the top of the tree in Geelong with the 4th premiership. But yes, we are getting a little greedy. We'll take what we can get from this point onwards. Let's talk about the game. Let's start with talking about a bit of the recent history of the Cats and the Crows. And I want to maybe just bring it back to recent history at Kardinia Park. Now, Crows generally aren't too good at Kardinia Park. In the last 10 years, or since 2014, they've lost 6 in a row. We've smashed them pretty well. Yeah, I think they got pretty close last year from memory. I think we played them at home last year. They got within about 8 points. I don't know if you remember that game too well, but they got within 8 points in the third quarter. And then a couple of unknown blokes, Jezza Cameron and Tyson Stengel, they sort of lit it up after that and put the game to bed. And, yeah, we win by 7 or 8 or 9 goals in the end. But I think I'm going into this game maybe not supremely confident, but confident enough to walk away with the 4 points anyway. What's your early thoughts? What is it, Wednesday, going into the Saturday game?
Yeah. Look, I'm much in the same mindset now that I was last season. It just doesn't really matter who. Just bring it all on. Wherever it is, on the road, at home, in the rain, in the dry. You just want to play. You want to see every different kind of team in every different kind of situation. I think it is one of the privileges of being a Cats fan is that you have this perspective of you're really familiar with what you need to get sharp for finals because we've been there so often and we've seen, we've experienced the glory and we've also experienced our fair share of failure as well. And the thing I think you always want to have, been through is a diverse set of challenges. You want to have overcome injury. You want to have tested your squad depth. You want to play in the rain. You want to play against plucky underdogs. You want to go to the G and play a raging hot Pies team. So look, I'm comfortable. We're having this chat the other day, me and Sambo and Johnny, that I'm comfortable against that. Our best footy is the best in the comp. Now, playing that every week is then the question. So this is another great opportunity. I think the Crows are really, they're feisty, but I find they're always feisty.
They always are.
They're a willing combatant, and I think they'll be stinging after the loss to the Pies. That said, I think we should go in confident that our best footy gets the job done.
I think you're right. Like our best footy, from what I can see so far this year, with a small sample size of 7 games or 8? Oh, it's round 8 coming up. What did I say off the top? Round 7. Anyway, I'm way off. I started the show on fire. Round 8 this week. But yeah, we've seen a small sample size. And I think our Geelong's best, clearly to me, looks extraordinarily good and very, very similar to what we saw late last year. And I'm comfortable not seeing that champagne style of football just yet. If we see bits and pieces of it through the season, that's great. I would love to see 4 or 5 weeks in a row of that starting late August. That's where you really, really want to peak. A bit like a Roger Federer in the second week of the Australian Open. You don't want to go too early with these things. You want to just pace yourself a little bit and just get the wins, do what you need to do, try and get your list, keep your list healthy and get a few guys some exposure at the level. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just another touch on the last time we played the Crows. As I said, they got pretty close, but they were also really wasteful. So if not for a little bit more of a straighter kicking Crows outfit, we could have been in a bit of trouble. They kicked 7 goals, 13. So I don't know if it's a bit different this time around. Who knows? They are a bit better this year than they were last year. So I think we'll need to be on. But I'm looking forward to the rain, mate. I'm a bit of a masochist when it comes to my footy. I don't care if it's rain. I don't care if it rains on me. I just want it to rain on these interstate teams and have their little trip to G-Town be as miserable as possible. That's how I roll. So I'm hoping that it pours and they're drenched and the Cats just make it hell for them, which I'm sure they will. The other thing with that game last time, and there's a few highlights coming out of this game, was, I don't know if you remember, Tom Stewart had the ball on the string. He had 40 touches, got the three Brownlow votes that game. Had a hell of a lot of intercept possessions as well. Rory Laird pinched a couple of votes off us. How dare he? He had about 38 touches as well for the Crows and got the 2 Brownlow votes there. And Gryan Miers, the much maligned but now much loved Gryan Miers, kicked 3 goals after being promoted from the sub the week before. Struggling to get in the side mid last year, round 11. And a bloke
was
we
that
love.
the game where he kicked that? spinning goal
Might have
out of
been.
traffic.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
yeah.
quick hands. I feel like Cooper Stevens
Yeah.
to somebody who got it to Miers, and Miers spun out of traffic in
I'll
the
have
goal square and kicked a goal. And I thought, ooh,
I'll have to
that's a
find
nice
that.
one.
I'll
And
have to find that goal and post it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'll go through the
I think it
old
might have been the
highlights
Crows
package
game.
on that one. A bloke you and I love very much, and as does the whole Geelong community, Tom Atkins had 17 tackles, 17 bruising hits,
Yes.
and we love his work, don't we? We love Tom Atkins. And another fella, young, surfy-looking bloke, who was not getting a lot of love in the Rising Star nominations before this round last year. He finally got his just rewards and got the nomination for round 11, Sam DeConning. So, yeah, happy with him. Did you hear the news about his brother? It won't die down. That we can talk about AFL news later on, but while on the DeConnings,
Yeah.
it's interesting what's happening there at Carlton.
Well, this is the thing in college football. You got to do what you can to recruit players, to your college. I mean,
We do what we can. We do what we can.
That's right.
Yeah, and look, I mean, as I said, just to round off the last time we played him, as I said, it's 6 in a row at home. I don't imagine that's going to change anytime soon. Even the Crows are going pretty well, but I think we'll do enough to get the job done, mate. Now, recent form, the Crows. We talked about, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it on this version of this episode, even though we got cut 5 minutes into the last one. But the Crows did have a 1-point loss. Heartbreaking loss to the Pies, but before that they'd won 4 in a row. So they're now 4 out of the last 5. Only just lost a game by a point. So could have been really coming to this as 5 wins in a row. We're coming into it 4 wins in a row with an average winning margin of 62 points. So we're absolutely flying. Albeit we've been playing some dud teams who they're down the bottom of the ladder at the moment. So it's hard to really know. Sydney, the only one with a few question marks still. I don't really rate them too much. But overall, would you say we're doing well over the last 4 weeks? Or is it that you just can't really score them at the moment until we come up against the quality opposition?
Oh, I think we're doing incredibly well. I think, you only have to look week to week. Any team can get you. I do believe that if you are not on, you can be got any given week. Having said that, I really think Sydney is the only game where Geelong has put the foot down and got up into that top gear for an extended period of time. I think we saw one, fourth or fifth gear quarter against Hawthorn, same against West Coast. It was a more of a 4-quarter effort against the Swans, and then last week, much the same again. I thought personally that was the most casual game the Cats have played out of all of them, maybe against the Bombers. They very rarely cycled up beyond about third.
Yeah.
For mine, watching, and credit to Essendon for continuing to fight. But it's kind of funny. It got a bit lost in the wash for me that everyone was saying that Essendon really surged, and they did, but they only had 2 instances where they put back-to-back goals together, and that was, I think, between quarter 1 and quarter 2. I think they had back-to-back goals, and then at the end of the game, they kicked 3 in a row. Apart from that, every time Essendon scored, Geelong answered when you look at the score worm. So it was very much game management from the Cats. I think we're, just purring along really nicely. That wasn't intended as a pun,
No.
just for anyone who's cringing out there. I think they're doing really, really nice work. And what I love is that now that this team is back to winning, I think the competition for spots starts to ramp up as the group starts to think, well, maybe we can do something special again. It gets more and more cutthroat for spots. I love that there's the opportunity for players to come in and try and play themselves into the side. I just think it's this beautiful sort of symbiotic process. You start winning, and you're often more likely to keep winning if you're a squad that thinks you can win a flag, because everyone wants to be involved. Everyone's training standards
Exactly.
increase. Everyone's playing standards increase. So I think we're in for an exciting couple of months of footy. I think this is just the beginning.
I agree. I think you're right. You get the club gets a taste of winning, and everyone wants a bite of the cherry, don't they? They all want to have a go at it. You talked about player management. I think I'm not sure if that was the term you used, but And I kind of touched on that subject in one of the other shows I did recently. Last year was very much the model was player management from week to week. I feel like this year it's more player management within game and time on ground and so forth. I mean, you just look at Paddy Dangerfield and how he went last week in 64% game time. I think we're going to see a lot more of that moving forward. I think we'll probably still see a bit of the player resting. Not Tui had a back spasm or whatever, but who knows? Maybe it'll be Duncan or Rowan or someone of the older guys this week that comes out. I think we'll see that, but I think we'll also see with this list another year older, we're going to see a lot more of the older players. Or at least I'm looking for that a little bit more in the stats at the end of the game. I'm thinking that's a trend that we're starting to see. Be curious to see if it actually continues to play out that way. But I think that's pretty smart in terms of managing this list and really not only keeping them fit, but it's about keeping these getting a bunch of guys exposed at the level. And if you're going to play these young kids, give them an opportunity. Don't give them 50% game time or 1 quarter as the medical sub. I mean, we want to give them as much exposure at the level as we can.
There's a sort of a tinkering factor that I love about the Geelong coaching group. I put a tweet up about this. The last couple of weeks using Sam de Koning in the ruck. When it was sort of everyone thought, well, Mark Blixarves is going to ruck, given that they haven't chosen Segler, given Stanley's out, and it sort of started as Blixarves and then has morphed more and more into Sam de Koning. And I love it because I do genuinely believe that this Cats coaching group love the opportunity to tinker. I think they love to put guys in different positions. I remember them throwing SDK up forward against Collingwood in the first or second round, whenever it was that we stormed back to beat them at the MCG during the regular season. And he played a brilliant game up there. I think that, as much as anything, is something that I love, is that you get the chance when you're Geelong to try players in different positions. So if the need ever arises, if for whatever reason you went, oh my goodness, we've got no Blixarves, we've got no Stanley, we've got no Segler. Oh, that's all right, because actually SDK has actually played 3 or 4 games in the ruck. We can actually put him there and he can do a job. And as far as him as a player, I do wonder whether there's, with Jack Henry to come back into the side, with the development of Ratugolea, having Tom Stewart down there, Zach Guthrie being down there, whether they do start to go, maybe SDK could be more of that versatile Blixarves type weapon, because he's played well wherever they've put him on the field in his very sort of small career so far. He's done good things, so yeah. You're
right. Like, it is an interesting, and how they look at it. And you're right. I think they'll continue to try different things. They'll have a look at a few different setups. My heart's in my mouth every time Sam de Koning goes up in the ruck, because I think he's going to land on his knee or something like that. But I like what they're doing. There's a bit of risk with everything you try and do. And maybe it's not the best fit for him right now in his career. He still probably could put another 5 or 6 or 7 kilos on to be really comfortable in that role. But goodness me, he's a bit of a natural midfielder. Like, some of the handballs he gives off and his skills and the way he just reads the game. He's got that long reach as well, so he doesn't seem to use his body that well in the ruck, but he's always like with his spoils and his contested marking, he just always seems to get his hands to it. So I like that. I just get a bit nervous every time he comes down. Like, we can't have Sam de Koning do a knee and then he's not the same player for the next 10 years. He's absolute rolled gold for us at the moment. I don't know. I think he's great. We've got a few injuries, though. We do have a few injuries. Jack Bowes is not going to play for I think the short term is what they're saying. Tui I mentioned has got the back spasm, so who knows what that means. He might have another week off, or he might be ready to go again. And Cam Guthrie has got the baby toe. I don't know if it's baby toe. I'll go with the baby toe. He's got a bit of he's got a tiny toe issue. We'll go with that because it sounds better. And and Rowan looked a bit sore and Duncan looked a bit off it, so who knows? There could be some resting. There could be some guys that can't quite come back yet. On the good news, though, Jack Henry, Simon Lloyd was saying the other day on the club's website that Jack Henry's not far away. Well, he's back in full training, so I think they'll give him a few weeks to get match fit, and then it'll be Henry Palooza very, very soon with Ollie and Jack in the same squad, hopefully, if that goes that way. That'll be nice to see, because we did see a hint of that in the pre-season in the Hawthorn match, which is lovely. Those two guys.
I think people forget how good Jack Henry is.
Yeah.
Like, there's this sort of thing that Radigalia has improved, and there's been, well, does Jack Henry get back in the side? He absolutely gets back in the side. He was probably our second best defender behind Tom Stewart, I think. Like, his ability to create linking plays out of the back line, go back to that Hawthorn game in 2021, maybe. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah,
because they beat us last year. It was
the Clark and
the link play, running through the midfield. He is an absolute gun, and he's an automatic pick for me.
He's 100% in our top 10 players first picked for sure. It's just the mix and the balance of the squad, and I think you're right. Like, I think we're going to try some different things. Clearly, we want to get him back in and give him 15 games before the real stuff starts, assuming we make it that far in the season. Hopefully we will, but he's definitely a walk-up start. His brother, we'll see what happens towards the end of the season, and a few of those other guys, whether they're still there once, especially if we get a good run of injuries. It seems to be every week someone's getting injured, and that's we look back on 2023, or at least when we do a mid-season review, that'll be the theme. Really, the mid-season review will be about mid-term injuries. It is what it is. It's we had a pretty good run last year in the second part of the season, so that's fine. Jonathan Segler is another one that they haven't tried yet. I mean, they're trying the Blitzarves De Conning mix, but they're not really giving Segler a bit of a look in, which I feel bad for the bloke, and I would hope that he gets a bit of a go. They're still persisting with the Sam Simpson replacement and he's done well with 4 goals, but hasn't had a hit out. So I'm pretty disappointed in the decision there. So no, I'm just kidding on that one. But it's been great to see Sam Simpson get some opportunity, and you'd think, give him a game and back to the Magoos again, because there's just no room for spots. But try and get rid of the bloke at the moment. There's no chance. He's loving it. He's twinkle toes. It's great.
Well, and I said, well, we've got no like-for-like replacement for Tyson Stengel when he went out. And then some of the things, I think because Sam Simpson hasn't played for so long, you sort of forget the sort of class that he brings, the finishing skills, his instincts. Sam made the point on the pod that, when he does flashy things, a turn out of traffic, a spin, it's not showboating, it's his decision-making for what part of his skill set to use when is so on point. And it's been fantastic to see him back, strutting his stuff and repping the long socks.
He loves his long socks.
Something I'm big on.
He just he's and he's very. And it's good to see how much love he's got from the boys and the club generally as well. Everyone wants to see him do well, and he's here comes the rain again. He is just loving footy, and a bit like that Cody Waitman from the Bulldogs in his first year or two. He's just every time he touches the ball, gets a goal. He's like a 6-year-old kid again, and it just makes you love footy. I love watching players that just really enjoy the game and don't mind celebrating, and it's even better when your teammates get around him as well. It's fantastic. It looks like Geelong's having a lot of fun. The smiles are back on the boys' faces, and that's what we want to see. Cooper
He's
White,
a throwback player.
Yeah, I want to ask you about some fringe players now.
Sure.
There's a few because there's a few guys in the VFL that have maybe played a game for the club, maybe haven't played a game for the club yet. I'll throw a few names at you. We can talk about Brandon Parfitt in a bit if we get time. But Jai Clark, Ted Closey, Cooper White, and Ollie Dempsey. There's 4 names there. A couple of those have played some games. A couple haven't yet. I'll throw to you. Like you watch the VFL and the VFLW very, very closely. And if anyone hasn't checked out some of your write-ups, is that on the Patreon page or is any?
Yeah.
Yep. So, but look, what are your thoughts on how the VFL guys are going? All those AFL listed boys, and are we going to see any of them at some point this year?
It's really exciting. Like, that's what I think every time I finish up watching a VFL men's game this season. It's just excitement. Against Werribee, they lined up, in a close game against a really experienced Werribee Tigers team on the road. The first bounce of the final term, you had 5 players at that centre bounce who between them were an average of 21 years old and had played an average of 7 VFL games in their career. So they went young. They won the clearance out of that. I think it was Ted Closey drew a high free kick, winning the ball, and they won that game. And then they won again this weekend against Coburg in a game they should have won by more. They were wasteful in front of goal. As far as the players, like, I'm very excited about how the Cats sort of use this as their academy. This really does feel like an academy team. There's so much youth in there, complemented by experience. Ted Closey out of that group is the one I'm most excited about. If you ask me which player, you can pluck one player from the VFL who hasn't debuted at AFL level yet, put him in this week, I'd put Ted Closey in.
Okay.
His attack on the footy is relentless. I think on the weekend, I think he had 26 touches, and I think that was season high for him, and so career high as well. Kicked a goal. So you've got this great combination, I think, with Closey, where you can line him up at centre bounces, you can line him up around stoppages. I felt like he played a lot of midfield minutes this week. But then conversely, against Carlton in week 1, he kicked 3 goals and put himself in really good attacking positions. Puts himself in positions where if he doesn't get the ball cleanly, uncontested, he puts himself in positions that worry the defender and lead to a defender giving away a free kick. So for mine, one of the things, and Rookie Me Central is a great draft website, and they did great profiles on all these players. And he, like Clark and a lot of these young inside mids that are playing in the VFL for the Cats, the criticism on them is they've got to work on their outside play. And I really feel like Closey's one who is doing that. He's clever. He's tough. He's a willing tackler. He's really improved his disposal, and he gets in good positions to score as well. So super excited about what Ted Closey can be, and obviously it's not a straight line of development, but where he is right now is super exciting.
There's a burning question that all Cats people have, though, is there room in this squad for 2 Closeys? That is my biggest dilemma right now. Can we fit him in? And if he is fitting in, does that mean he wears the sleeves? I don't know. Like, these big questions I struggle with, and I lay up late at night. I can't.
What I like about Ted Closey is there's, to my eye, something of a Joel Selwood resemblance. With something about the brow structure, I don't know. So I think leave alone the long sleeves, but put a bandage on his head, and get him out there. I think that's the way to do it.
Yes.
I guess the other burning question for Geelong fans is Jai.
Yes,
Clark.
we have to. People want to know. The people want to know about Jai Clark. We're hanging for news about Jai Clark. When's he going to get a game?
So
is he going to get a game?
He's fascinating, and as I said, another super exciting player, as you would expect for a first round, high-ish first round draft pick for the Cats. I wrote a massive long form a few weeks ago, which is free on the Patreon. That's up for anyone to read.
We might have to put that link in the chat below, in the comments below, mate, on the notes.
Yeah, well, if people want to read it, it was sort of my recap on Jai's first month in the VFL. And my sort of thing was, you can see all of the building blocks that he has. You can see all of his potential as a player, but it's still all coming together. He's still getting used to playing, not in the Falcons, but against grown men. You saw against Werribee, there were patches where he was really good, and then there were other patches, particularly early on. I liked how he improved across that game. Early on, he found himself sort of bodied out of the contest at clearances, at stoppage situations, just by really clever midfielders. Dom Brew for Werribee was on him for a stretch, and just crafty players, players who know how to put a bump on you at just the right time, cut off your access to the footy, and you're essentially totally out of the contest. So my urging was like, patience. Patience, Cats fans. Give this kid time to grow. And then, of course, he goes out and has nearly 30 disposals on the weekend. And now everyone is like, we need to get this kid in. I watched the game on the weekend against Coburg. Thought, again, he flashed the building blocks. He's tough. He's uncompromising. He's getting himself in more uncontested situations, which I like. I don't think there's really a question about the fact that once he's got an AFL ready sort of physique, he's going to be a beast in the inside game. The question again has been, well, what about the outside? Can he get himself in open situations to provide a marking target to link up? He was doing a lot more of that. My thing is, I still think he's quite raw and inconsistent at times with the execution of his kicking. There was a couple of kicks that absolutely drove. They're almost subterranean. Uncontested, where he's just driving a ball far too low. He drove one straight into a Coburg player who picked it up, put it inside 50, and they scored. So I think he's brilliant. I think he has a brilliant future ahead of him. I would much prefer if the taste of AFL footy this year is we put him in for a game, we put him in for 2 games to give him a taste of the level, to give him that idea of, okay, this is the pace I've got to shoot for. This is how quick I have to make decisions, which is something you are seeing improve week to week in the VFL. I'm happy with that. Obviously, I'm always trusting of Geelong's coaching staff, and I would never second guess them. So if they think he's ready to play an extended period of time, then by all means play him. But if I put my hat on and just on what I've seen as a fanalist, I'd be saying give him a couple of games, a game to get a taste, but then let him keep developing. I kind of want to see him getting that like 25 plus touches, 6 clearances, week in, week out in the VFL.
I agree.
Knock the door down.
And there's no hurry, as you said. And cheekily at the start of the year, I was like, should we give him the captaincy now? Because everyone was calling him Solid 2.0. It's like clearly tongue in cheek, not serious at all about that. Everyone's like, leave him alone. I'm like, I'm not serious.
Somebody think of the children.
No, look, he reminds me of an Alan Christensen who didn't play in his first year at the club, played the next year and he won a grand final. Tommy Hawkins has been around since 2007, but people might have assumed, he wasn't in that 2007 squad. He wasn't in that team. Nathan Ablett was a few years ahead of him and got the gig. So I am curious to see, looking back in 5 years from now and looking at this VFL side, because I am feeling I've got some good vibes and good feeling about the team. I want to look at some old photos of these guys running around the VFL, because I want it to be like your Jimmy Bartells and your Gary Ablett Juniors and your Stevie J's, looking at them running it, and Tom Lonergan and running around in the VFL and winning VFL premierships and things like that, and then they become absolute stars of the game. So I'm hopeful that we'll see that. It's way too early, and again, let the kid play. Let him grow. He's not a gun yet, but I'm very confident that in 2024 he'll get a lot of opportunity at the club, or at least get some exposure and have an opportunity to have a go at it. Whether or not he becomes a gun, that's up to him, and it's up to circumstances and a bit of luck as well, and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into that transition phase in the next 24 months as well. So there'll be a lot more opportunities for these younger kids if hopefully they hang around at the club moving forward. Yeah. So you're saying Ted Closey would be the one for you of the guys that haven't debuted yet, would be your first pick.
Yeah.
When that happens, if it happens. What about the guys that have played already, or played some games already? Your Ollie Dempsey's and your who's the other one? Cooper White. Who was in and sort of didn't really get much of a taste of it early in the year, and now he finds himself out again. Any of those guys going to get another chance this year, or is the jury out on them already? Like, I don't know.
It's opportunity, really. Like, I think that's the tricky thing when you play for a club like Geelong, who are winning. If we're finding ourselves at 0-6, for instance, some of these guys might be getting, fast tracked. But look, Cooper White hasn't stood out to me when I've watched him. That doesn't mean he's not playing well, not doing his role. It's just that, and look, I'll be honest, I've been pretty focused in on the inside mids, just because that has been an area where everyone's sort of been, the sky is falling, Selwood's gone, Dangerfield will go soon, and we're going to have like the inside mid stocks are very, very exciting at the Cats. So look, I think Cooper White still has development to do, and I think he's getting that development time in the VFL. Ollie Dempsey, I think, is literally just a case of when, not if. His confidence, and like before, he didn't play on the weekend against Coburg, and I can't remember if that was due to injury, but he was getting like 20 plus touches a game.
Was he an
doesn't
emergency
have to score
for the AFL team from memory? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I misread
quite
that somewhere.
possibly.
Yeah, he might have been held in reserve for that, possibly. I could be wrong about that, but I like what you're saying. It's not about if, but when. And I think a lot of Geelong supporters that really want to see him get some opportunities will be pleased to hear that. I like what I see from him. Clearly, it was good. He got a taste last year. I was hoping he'd get maybe 7 or 8 games this year. Hasn't had that opportunity, and maybe he won't this year as well. Maybe it'll be 2 years in the system, or in the third year that he starts getting much more of a look. But he's probably the one for me of Cooper White and him that I want to see get some more opportunity. Mitch Nevitt is I think we'll see Mitch Nevitt in the team for a little while longer. I would like the club to stick with him. In my ratings video that I put out, I scored him pretty low, but I think you're going to see a vast improvement from him if he gets backed in by the club for a few more weeks. I think we're going to see a lot more from him. I hope the club sticks with him a little bit longer, especially in the first part of the season. Do you have any thoughts on Mitch Nevitt? Or, I keep comparing him to the bully from Karate Kid Part 1. He just sort of looks like he needs a motorbike riding on the beach. He's got that look about him to me. Johnny, finish him.
He's an interesting. He's an interesting one. Mitch Nevitt, because he's not exactly come in and made like a high impact. Do you know what I mean? When he's been in the AFL team, he's not somewhat like, unlike Ollie Dempsey, who I think came in and immediately you were like, oh, this guy's got something about him.
We fell in love with him. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ollie Dempsey's one, I think, is quite versatile. I know he's been used up forward when he's played, but I think he could play on the wing. I think he could play, and this is kind of a bit left field, I think he's a player who could float back and sort of play across like half back or something. His ability to read the play, he does it a lot in the VFL where he floats around and intercepts things, particularly in the midfield. Just his ability to read and cut off the opponent. Mitch Nevitt, to me, obviously they love his kicking. That's what they want him to do. He's the sort of player in the VFL who has 16 touches and 14 of them are kicks, or 13 of them are kicks. He's putting the ball inside 50 a lot for that team. I think his kicking has improved in terms of his accuracy and his execution. But what I really liked about him in the Werribee game, and I really think the Werribee game is something that people who are interested, who might be like, well, I can't watch every week, go and watch just the Werribee game from a few weeks ago. It's up on the AFL website. That's the one I would point to just watch a variety of these different players in their development. Mitch Nevitt in that game, what I liked about him was it was the best I'd seen his defensive pressure. He had a goal-saving, holding the ball tackle. I think it was just before halftime to deny Werribee a major. And I think that's something that you've kind of got to be able to do in the AFL when you step up. You can probably get away with having a sort of a lopsided skill set at times in the VFL. The lower down the levels you go, I guess.
Yeah.
In the AFL, you're going to get exposed if you can't pressure defensively.
Because there's so much time and work put into everyone, like the coaches all week. Like our coaching team now would be putting so much work into Adelaide and trying to find all their weaknesses and trying to shut down their strengths now. So if you've got that little weakness, even the slightest little hole in your game, the coaches are going to know about it.
Yeah.
And they're gonna push and push, and it's like a little sore spot, and they're gonna nudge you there.
Yeah.
Is
So
there?
that's what I would say about Nevitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in
He
the
needs to
VF?
keep developing that.
Okay. Anyone in the VFL team that I haven't touched on that you think maybe why aren't we talking about this guy? I think I've covered pretty much most of them. I mean, there's probably a few others, and I don't. Hopefully, if anyone those VFL boys are watching this show, I want to get Osca Riccardi in at some stage. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a realist on that one. I think he needs another season in the gym, and he's the way he moves and the way he uses the ball is fantastic. But he's like a kid playing with men at the moment, so I think he just needs a bit more time. And hopefully, if he's anything like his dad, he'll put on that size in time. Anyone else from you, from what you see that? I mean, that you know, yeah.
No, I've got plenty, but I'll try and keep it quick.
So
I've got
maybe just one name. Then, if you've got someone that you really want to touch on.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to cheat and squeeze two in, and I'll do it in 30 seconds.
All
One, Oisin Mullen.
Oh yeah.
He could be ready before the end of the year.
Mr.
He looks
Sheen.
ready physically. Reading the game. Really, really like the times I've seen him. I think he's going to be ready way more quickly than we think. The other guy is Phoenix Foster, who played on the weekend.
Yes.
He is a talent, like capital T talent. He had 12 touches in the first quarter, was marking everything, was pumping the ball inside 50. He's a threat. Now he faded totally out of the game after the first quarter, but you can see the clay that you're going to be able to mold. Like his skill set, his athleticism once the ball hits the deck for such a big guy, he's very exciting. I think it's probably a few years before we see him in the AFL, but boy, oh boy, Phoenix Foster he's a good one. Keep a hold of him.
Do you know what I love about him? And even though I haven't seen him, he hasn't played clearly at AFL level, but he hasn't played at VFL level until last week. I love his attitude around the place. He's been out. He's come into this club. He's been drafted into the system, and hasn't had a chance to kick a footy yet. And he's just been so positive the whole way through, and I just love that. And I'm so happy that he got out there on the weekend. It's in the VFL, and I'm sure. I completely agree. I'm sure we've got the makings or the mould. I'm thinking of that Ghost movie with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze moulding the clay. I don't know where my mind's gone there, but anyway,
it all got a bit sensual
a little bit there. But hopefully he gets some opportunities down the line. That'll be great. All right, let's move on a little bit. Let's close out the show. There's a little bit of Cats news that's come through in the last couple of days, and we've seen that Mark Blitzarves and Mitch Nevitt have inked contract extension, so that's great news for those two. I think I might have mentioned Tommy Hawkins is now 15th all time in the goal kicking. He's a little bit behind another bloke drafted the same year as him, Jack Rewalt. Those two are pretty much neck and neck. We'll see what happens with Jack Rewalt and Richmond over the next little bit. It's going to be an interesting period for Richmond. But Tommy and Jack Rewalt, if they keep playing well, they should keep climbing that leaderboard. Whether they make the top 10 or not when it's all said and done, or crack 800, who knows? We'll maybe give you. I don't want to finish the show without talking about the VFLW side as well. And I've been to one or two games down at Deakin in Geelong, just sitting on the hill there. It's if it's a nice day, it's actually a really enjoyable day to go and watch the girls, have a run around, and the atmosphere is fantastic. So if you can get down there, I think it's live streaming as these days as well. But if you're nearby, it's free. You take the kids, you have a kick. It's great fun. Any thoughts on the VFL team? I think how many games have we won in a row now? We're absolutely dominating, aren't we?
Yeah, 5 in a row after a week one loss to the Kangaroos. Yeah, beautifully tracking really well. They are a really talented team, much like watching the VFL men's team. There's a lot of future AFL level players in this VFL women's team for the Cats. There's a bunch of AFL listed players already playing.
Chloe Shear comes to mind.
The VFL, yeah. Sheary's playing. Renee Gehring is playing. There's a bunch, but Annalee McKee is a player who I continue to write about. She is spring-heeled, marking forward, pinch hitting in the ruck. She had 12 tackles a couple of weeks ago. she is dynamic, and it boggles my mind that she's not on an AFLW list
Not
at the
yet.
moment.
Not yet.
I wonder if it's one of those things like it's a little bit different for the women's game where, maybe she doesn't want to move from Geelong. So if she's not got an opportunity there, I'm just theorizing like
Yeah.
there's a lot of different reasons why people
It's not.
don't want to necessarily
You're not
make
getting
the
paid
next
200
step.
grand a year to play footy, are you? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But she as a player is incredible. I think it's only a matter of time before she makes that jump. I think the only reason she wouldn't have got picked up by the Cats AFLW team is that it's just hard to push into that forward line at the moment. Charlotte Simpson's having an insane season. Just mountains of the football clearances. And Renee Gehring,
Yep.
I think she is going to push back
I think
into
so.
the AFLW side. She has been absolutely
Oh,
immaculate.
I hope she
in
makes it
this
back.
season so far.
And all the
Yeah.
girls in that team, and again, I bring it back to watching them play at Deakin. They are so easy to talk to. They're chatting to the little kids on the sideline. They're real people, and as I said, if you get an opportunity to go and support the team, whether it be the AFLW or the VFLW, they are Geelong players, and I like to get around all of them if we can. So yeah, it's fantastic seeing them go really well. Hopefully they make it 6 straight, and we keep rolling on. It'd be nice to have a bit of success in some of the women's teams. I think we're getting very close at AFL level. I can't wait for the season to start. I think it was at late August or something like that. The new AFLW season starts. The only thing I wish happened was that it would be parallel with the VFL season, but or any other state leagues like it is in the AFL. Men's, be nice to see that happen. Just to see who's in this week, who's out this week, all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, what do you do if you get dropped from the AFL women's team? Like, where do you go from there? Like your local club level? I don't know. So, yeah. Anyway,
I'd hope too that like the AFL always, they've talked in the past about, how do we create how do we bring more families to the footy? And, we had AFLX and we have all these things. How do we get more families? Having gone to a bunch of AFL women's games, there's your product. It's already there. The family friendlier version of footy, it's right there under their noses. This is my opinion. And so I just think it's there. It's ready to go. We've taken our kids down. Sambo took his little son down to the Cattery for the final last week. It's a slightly less aggressive atmosphere in the crowd.
That's right.
It is legitimately good family fun, and it would annoy me if the talk continues to be, how do we get families involved when it's there, it's right there. It's right there to be done.
That's fantastic. We have to make a case to get the AFL women's team to play some games up north where you live, mate.
Absolutely
in the lead up. Let's do a bit of a road trip. Support the girls. Why can't we even have a game up there anyway? Anyway,
exactly,
mate. As we're recording this show, and I haven't been looking at my phone or anything, but it's been breaking all week with the news around the 19th AFL licence in Tasmania. I imagine that's probably, 11 o'clock now? It's probably gone to air. So, that'll be exciting. A couple of things to work out with the naming issue around the Tassie Devil and so forth, but I'm sure they'll sort that out. I'm going with the Tassie Cadbury Furry Friends is my moniker. I like me a furry friend from back in the day, just to collect all those little packets. But there's a few names out there if the Tassie Devils doesn't get up. Can't go with the Tigers, obviously, because you can't have two teams with the same name. But yeah, it'd be exciting. I don't know. I think I mentioned to you just in the DMs. I think during the week that I'd like Tassie to get play every single team at their home ground in their first couple of years or first year or so. It's something that's a bit different, and you're giving them all these bit of handouts with picks in the draft and so forth. But I think having a game in Tasmania every week, at least for the first 2/3 of the year until they've played everyone at least once, I think that's an idea that I think should be considered. Whether I've got someone at the AFL watching these shows or checking out our Twitter feed, I don't think so. But hopefully it's something that they think about at least when they're sitting in the room with the whiteboard.
Yeah, well, I was talking with Jack Johnston, who hosts the Markers Up podcast the other day, and he said it's interesting when you look at gather round has been guaranteed in Adelaide for, I can't remember how many seasons is it? Is it through 2026 or something?
Like that. Yeah.
And it sort of lines up roughly with when the Tassie team comes in, and we said, I could really imagine whether it's an additional gather round, whether it's a rotated thing, but a gather round in Tassie where, for one, I don't think they should be building a new stadium. I had a Google of the two stadiums that are already there and was kind of stunned by how developed they are. I had in my mind that they weren't really, and then you look at both of them. That's a 19,500 capacity stadium at Launceston and a 20,000 down in Hobart, and they're talking about building a 23,000. Like, what are we doing? There's already beautiful grounds down there.
But there's legacies, mate. The CEO has a legacy to leave behind, as you mentioned on Twitter.
What it's all about. Yeah, it's what it's all about. We can sign off having said we secured not only a 19th license, but this much money, committed to a stadium. Look, I'm really excited for Tassie. It's an absolute no-brainer to me that they should get a club. I still wrestle in my head with the fact that Gold Coast continue to have a football team, and I don't mean that. That sounds really harsh.
No, I know where you're coming from.
But it's a continually sort of failed experiment. It would be easier to sort of get behind it if you saw sort of progress happening, and I just think we never do. But ultimately, I've come around to the idea that expansion teams and expanding is sort of here to stay, and I think that Tassie will add a great legacy to the AFL. I hope they get a women's team ASAP.
Oh, that'd be great
I'd be in
too.
favour of it. Yeah, I'd be in favour of being M and W year one.
Yeah.
Why not? You can start building it now. And this argument that the talent pool is going to be
I was just about to ask you that, around what your thoughts around that would be. Yeah.
Look, I think I said this literally just on a podcast yesterday. Like, what are we talking about? Like 40 players in an AFL squad. So, Tassie gets a team. We've got to find an extra 40 players around. I think that's possible. I think we could pull together 40 players of quality.
100% by 2027. You can't imagine they would go into for that. Like, they've got 18. Every other team's got a women's side now. But I'm with you. I think bring it in as soon as you can. Get those VFL. I mean, I don't know. I think they're already in the VFL. I'm not sure how it works in terms of the structure of this club and all that sort of stuff. But no reason why that wouldn't happen. I'm excited. I'm keen for. I've been very, very keen on Northern Territory getting something. Look, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know whether that kind of model can work up there. I just don't know. But at the very least, I'd love to see footy played in the Northern Territory a lot more than what it is. I think it's fantastic, and there's a lot of AFL boys that come from that part of the world, and to be able to play up there or to play for a club even better. Would just be a dream come true for them, just like it would be for a lot of the Tassie boys that get drafted into the system as well, just to play for their state or a state team. It'd be fantastic. So whether that happens, interesting to see what happens with the final structure moving forward from 2027. Do we go to a wild card thing for the 8th spot on the ladder, or do we go to 10 teams? That sort of stuff. We won't touch on that too much in this show, but there's all that sort of stuff that'll come out in the next few weeks, and we'll see what Gil McLachlan says in his press. I'm sure it'll just be a formality to sort of celebrate the announcement and all that sort of stuff, but there won't be any big news that we don't already know about. Now, mate, I want to talk a little bit about the Chaps show. I'll give you an opportunity to tell our listeners I can't imagine they're not aware of the Chaps Chat Cats show. I cannot imagine for the life of me that they wouldn't be listening in every single week, twice a week. But why should they listen to your show, mate? It's absolute gold in podcast world, and you are the king of the podcasting world, by the way.
Oh God, I worry what response I'm going to get. Maybe I'll just start putting it on my business card or something.
I want to see a crown in the next for the Patreon video. I want to see a crown on your head.
Yeah, Don't set the Roganites on me. The reason you should tune into the Chaps, we are three lads from Northeast Victoria. We love the Cats. We cover it, year round. I think we started in early 2021, haven't stopped since. I don't think we've had a week off. It's at least one episode a week of the podcast, if not two. When the women's season starts, it's 3 or 4. So we cover all levels of Cats footy, from VFL women's, men's, AFL women's, AFL men's. And it's a mix of, analysis, banter, and hopefully people come away with a laugh and feeling a little bit informed.
Mate, as you know, I always come away with a laugh and often listen to it late at night, and that is guaranteed to see me get kicked out of bed when my partner's trying to sleep. So I try not to do it at night. One thing I'll say about anyone who wants to tune in, hasn't checked out your show yet, don't listen to it at night time when your partner's trying to sleep, because you'll get in trouble. So anyway, mate, look, thanks for coming on. I'll just quickly touch on our show. We've got who have we got? We just dropped on yesterday. Kate Darby. We had an interview with Kate Darby from the AFL women's side. That was a great interview. So that's on our channel now if you want to check that out. And later in the week, on Sunday night, if all goes well, I think it should be right. We'll have Brooke Plummer, another AFL player, coming on our weekly panel show this week to dissect the game against the Crows. Hopefully she comes on a winning week. That'll be great. It'll be interesting to sort of talk about the Cats with a member of the club present. I'll have to be careful to be... Generally, I think I'm pretty polite about the players and keep criticisms measured. But yeah, I'll have to see how we go with that one. So that'll be interesting. For everyone who's been watching, thank you very much. And again, Jake, thanks to you for being on the show. Much really appreciate your time. As we always say when we close out these shows, go Cats! See you on the next one, everyone.